Yes, people, wife boy, and welcome back to another transfer video. Today we are discussing where Joao Felix will end up. As always, let me know in the comment section down below where you believe Joao Felix will end up. Will it be Arsenal, Man United, or do you think he's staying at Atletico Madrid? And while you're down there, make sure you subscribe. I'm already to 2,000 subscribers. So as we know, the player wants out of Atletico. I don't blame him. They play fossil football. It does not suit his style whatsoever. His agent, George Mendes, has spoken to the club and wants some terms to be ironed out for the player to leave amicably in January on a loan deal. Diego Simeone is said to want to facilitate this. He does want Joao Felix to leave Atletico, so a deal can be made. The parties involved, Arsenal and Man United, are the two frontrunners. Who is going to get this player? Well, let's first talk about the terms of the deal. Atletico Madrid wants a loan fee for 6 months of around 9.5 million. That's quite steep, I can't lie to you. For 6 months, 10 million is a lot of money. We know Joao Felix is more than worth that in lots of ways. He's a player that's still only 23 years old. He played really well in the World Cup, starting for Portugal, but he's still someone that wants out of Atletico. When a player says they want to leave the club, the cards are not in with the club anymore. The power's lost from them. It's still their player, so they still have some sort of power, but the player wants to leave, he's unhappy. You get rid of him for as much as you can. You cut your losses in one way or another. So for them to still demand such a high fee, it's kind of poor on their behalf. I think they will be brought down, especially with Arsenal quoting that they only want to spend £5 million on the loan fee, but happy to cover the players' wages. Man United himself, there's not any concrete news how much they would want to spend on Joao Felix, but we do believe Arsenal are ahead of Manchester United in terms of actually negotiating the price and having more financial means to pull the deal off. Then the second part of the deal comes with the obligation or option to buy. We know both clubs, Arsenal and Manchester United, do not want to be tied in an obligation to buy Joao Felix. This is because Atletico bought the player for a huge sum of money back in the day. I don't know why they did it. I think they spent over 100 million, around 120 million pounds on what they believe was going to be the next Cristiano Ronaldo. Did not pan out like that way, one way whatsoever, but they still want to get some money back for him. They are looking to insert an obligation to a buy of around 80 to 90 million euros, which is a hell of a lot of money. Arsenal do not want to do this. Manchester United themselves also do not want to do this. I do not blame them. He is not worth that much money. Not worth that much money whatsoever. This man's a decent player, but you do not want to be locked in. You want to have him on loan and potentially an option to buy, or just a dry loan like Arsenal did with Ødegaard, where it's just 6 months, see what he's like, and then go from there, bring him back if he looks decent. Having an obligation to buy means he's tied in. We are tied in to have Joao Felix at the end of this, which Arsenal do not want to do. I think if that clause is removed and it's just off a loan, I think negotiations can happen and the player can potentially move. But if Atletico Madrid are insistent on an obligation to buy, that will be a massive roadblock in this deal for both parties. Now let's talk about how he fits into both of the sides, starting with Manchester United. So I released a video yesterday talking about how Man United, I believe they're actually title challengers. They've looked decent this season, bar their first 2 games where they were absolutely horrible. They've looked pretty good, they're looking consistent, and he's someone that will definitely get playing time. Up front, I think he's actually United's weakest positions. They got Marcus Rashford, who's been unplayable this season. Unbelievable, scoring goals for fun. But next to him, they've had worries. Anthony, nowhere near his price tag, nowhere near his evaluation. Elanga's been here and there. Martial injured but not great. Sancho can't stay fit, and even then I don't think he's that great a player. Garnacho looks good, but he's still young. They need a player at that false 9, at that number 9 position, and Joao Felix can be exactly that. He can be guaranteed playing time in that Manchester United side. Then you've got Arsenal on the other side. Mikel Arteta apparently has spoken to the player himself and guaranteed Joao Felix that he will receive game time. And I agree. I think he will, especially in his first couple months. We all know Gabriel Jesus is injured and he's due back end of February, early March. We're still going to have to survive 2 or so months with Eddie Nketiah up front. And no disrespect to Eddie Nketiah, he can get you results. But every now and then, you want a player that's feared up front. Gabriel Jesus was feared by opponents. They looked at this player and thought, hang on a minute, we've got to be top of our game to deal with him. With Eddie Nketiah, opponents don't feel the same way. He doesn't strike the fear in the opponent's eyes like Gabriel Jesus did. Joao Felix will though. He's a feared player. He's someone that's extremely good on his day and someone that can link up the players and has experience playing in the top games of football and also playing for Atletico Madrid in big games. He's someone that, let's be completely honest, can be fluid across that front three. He's a perfect Arteta player. My only worry for him going to Arsenal is, will he then start games if Gabriel Jesus comes back? Because in my opinion, he doesn't. He becomes an impact player off the bench. Do not get me wrong, Arsenal need that. And with the games coming thick and fast, with the Europa League and Premier League resuming, and potentially Arsenal making an FA Cup run, we're going to need all of our squad. But would Joao Felix rather be an impact player off the bench for Arsenal when Jesus comes back, or potentially starting many more games for Manchester United. That is a decision the player needs to make. Then we've got Arsenal, who are also pursuing Mykhailo Mudryk. I've heard that that deal's kind of reached a roadblock. Fabrizio Romano himself has said that it's kind of stalled, that deal. Arsenal want to bring the price down. Shakhtar Donetsk are not moving on their price. Chelsea are just floating around seeing if something happens. The player still wants to come to Arsenal, but it's kind of hit a roadblock. Where it's a war of attrition. Who's gonna blink first? Is Shakhtar Donetsk going to bring their price down, or Arsenal going to meet their demands? We're going to have to see. But we also do know that Arsenal are pursuing both Joao Felix and Mykhailo Mudryk simultaneously, and it is not a case of one or the other. Arsenal ideally want to bring both players into the club. So if that's the case, we need to get one of them done sooner rather than later. Arsenal got 2 massive games coming up, as do Manchester United, to be fair. But Arsenal especially, we know how important bench depth is for us, especially given that against Newcastle, we had no one to bring off the bench. Another important point is that the agent of Joao Felix is the same agent that Arsenal dealt with when signing Fabio Vieira. So we already do have some experience with this agent. And George Mendes, we know he's a very tough guy in the aspect that he wants to get what his player's worth. He's not going to budge. So Arsenal do need to make sure they put up a good amount to prize away the player. But overall, I think this is a deal that can be done sooner rather than later. I can see Joao Felix leaving Atletico Madrid. I see this one more of a possibility than Mykhailo Mudryk right now. And that's saying a lot. But it's all up to whether he ends up at Manchester United or Arsenal. I personally don't think he'll mind which one he ends up at. I just think it's whichever club pays up the money first will get him. And I do think that it will be, at this moment in time, Arsenal, given that numerous reports have said that they have got a price structure in mind already and have got the more of a financial means to make it happen. It's just whether Atletico Madrid are removing that obligation to buy clause. Let me know in the comment section down below where you believe Joao Felix will end up. Do you think he will go to Arsenal or Man United, or do you reckon he's still at Atletico Madrid? And while you're down there, make sure you subscribe on my road to 2,000 subscribers. I've been Wifey and I hope to see you all in my next video.